Tom lived on the edge of the town where the paved road slowly turned into dirt and weeds. Cars passed by every day, but very few people ever stopped. His home was a small shack made from old wood, bent metal, and pieces others had thrown away. The roof had holes, and the walls did not block the wind well, but it was the only place Tom could call his own. He had built it with his hands and repaired it many times with patience and care. Tom was a black veteran who once had a steady life. Long ago, he had worn a uniform and followed rules that gave his days structure and meaning. Now, his life was quiet and uncertain, but he still followed small habits that kept him grounded. Each morning, he woke up early, folded his blanket neatly, and cleaned the small space around him. He believed dignity did not come from money or a house but from how a person carried himself. That day, the sky was cloudy, and the air felt heavy. Tom sat outside his shack on a wooden crate. In his hands was a small container of food he had saved from the night before. It was not much, just rice and beans, but it was warm and enough to keep him going. He ate slowly, enjoying each bite, reminding himself that many people had less. As he ate, he thought about his past. He remembered long walks, loud commands, and moments where teamwork mattered more than anything else. Those memories felt far away, like they belonged to another life. Still, they shaped who he was. He did not complain much. He had learned patience and calm in difficult times. The quiet of the afternoon was suddenly broken by the sound of an engine. It was loud and steady, unlike the cars that passed by. Tom looked up and saw a large motorcycle slowing down near the road. The rider stopped not far from the shack and turned off the engine. The silence that followed felt deep and noticeable. The rider removed his helmet. He was a tall man with a thick beard and eyes that looked tired but alert. His jacket carried a symbol that many people feared or avoided. Tom had seen people cross the street when men like this rode by. He had seen fear in their faces. But Tom stayed still and calm. The man glanced at Tom, then at the food in his hands. He hesitated for a moment, as if unsure whether to speak. "That smells good," the man said quietly. Tom nodded and gave a small smile. "It's simple," he replied. "But it fills the stomach." The man shifted his weight and looked around. The road was empty. "I haven't eaten today," he admitted. Tom did not ask questions. He did not ask who the man was or where he was going. He simply opened the container, divided the food into 2 equal parts, and held one half out. "Sit and eat," Tom said. "There's enough for both of us." The man looked surprised. His eyes stayed on the food for a few seconds before he slowly sat down on the ground near Tom. "My name is Mike," he said. "Tom," he replied. They ate together in silence at first. The wind moved through the trees, and clouds drifted slowly overhead. Mike ate carefully, like someone who did not want the moment to end too soon. Tom watched him quietly, feeling a strange sense of peace. After a while, Mike spoke again. "Most people don't talk to me," he said. "They see my jacket and look away." Tom shrugged slightly. "I see a man who is hungry," he said. "That's all that matters to me." Mike paused and looked at Tom with new interest. "You don't seem afraid." "I've lived through enough hard days," Tom answered calmly. "Fear doesn't help much." Mike nodded slowly. Something in his expression changed. The tension in his shoulders eased. He finished his food and stood up, brushing off his clothes. "I won't forget this," he said sincerely. Tom handed him the empty container. "Just stay safe," he replied. Mike put his helmet back on and started the motorcycle. Before leaving, he looked back once more and nodded at Tom. Then he rode away, the sound of the engine fading into the distance. Tom sat quietly after that, listening to the wind and the faraway noise of the town. He did not expect anything in return. Sharing food was a small thing, but it felt right. As evening came, dark clouds gathered, and rain began to fall. Water slipped through the cracks in the roof, and Tom moved his blanket to the driest corner of the shack. As he lay down, listening to the rain hit the metal sheets, Tom felt tired but calm. His stomach was not full, but his heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. He closed his eyes, unaware that a simple act of kindness had started something much bigger than he could imagine. The next morning, Tom woke up before sunrise, as he always did. The rain had stopped, but the ground around the shack was wet and muddy. A thin line of light appeared on the horizon, slowly pushing the darkness away. Tom sat up, stretched his stiff arms, and listened to the quiet. Mornings were his favorite time because the world felt honest before people rushed into it. He stepped outside and looked at his shack. The roof still sagged, and one wall leaned more than before because of the rain. Tom sighed softly but did not complain. He picked up a loose board and tried to press it back into place. It helped, only a little. He knew the shack would not last forever, but he had no other choice. Tom spent the morning collecting bottles and cans along the roadside. He walked slowly, careful with his steps. Some drivers looked away when they passed him. Others did not notice him at all. He was used to that. By late morning, his bag was half full. It was not much, but it was something. Around noon, Tom returned to his shack. He sat down on the crate again, wiped sweat from his face, and took a sip of water. The day felt warmer than usual. Birds chirped in the trees, and the road stayed quiet. Then he heard it. At first, it sounded like distant thunder. A low rumble that slowly grew louder. Tom looked toward the road, confused. The sound did not fade. It multiplied. One engine became many. Tom stood up slowly. In the distance, he saw shapes moving closer. Motorcycles. Not one or two, but a long line stretching far back on the road. The sound filled the air, strong and steady. Dust rose behind them as they approached. Tom's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from surprise. He had never seen so many motorcycles together before. He took a step back toward his shack, unsure of what to do. The motorcycles slowed and began to stop along the road near his home. One by one, they parked carefully, forming a wide circle. Engines turned off, and the sudden silence felt heavy again. Tom stood still, watching. One rider stepped forward. It was Mike. He removed his helmet and smiled when he saw Tom. "Morning," Mike said. Tom blinked, confused. "Morning," he replied. Behind Mike, more riders removed their helmets. Men and women of different ages stood together. Their jackets carried the same symbol. They looked around at the shack, the broken boards, the sagging roof, and the muddy ground. Mike took a few steps closer to Tom. "I told them about you," he said calmly. Tom frowned slightly. "Told them what?" he asked. Mike looked at him seriously. "You shared your only meal with me when you didn't have to," he said. "You treated me like a human." The riders behind him nodded quietly. Tom felt uncomfortable with the attention. "It was just food," he said. "Anyone would do the same." Mike shook his head. "No," he said gently. "Not everyone would." Another rider stepped forward, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. "We don't forget respect," the man said. "And we don't forget kindness." Tom looked around at the group. He noticed toolbags, wooden planks tied to some bikes, and rolled-up tarps. His confusion grew. "What's going on?" Tom asked softly. Mike smiled. "We're here to help," he said. Before Tom could respond, the group began to move. Some riders unloaded tools. Others brought out wood, metal sheets, and supplies. They worked with purpose like people who knew exactly what they were doing. Tom stood frozen, unsure if he should stop them. "You don't have to do this," he said. Mike placed a hand on his shoulder. "We want to," he replied. "Let us." The sound of hammers soon filled the air. Old boards were removed carefully. Weak supports were replaced. The roof was lifted and strengthened. New metal sheets were added to keep rain out. Someone leveled the ground around the shack, making it easier to walk. Tom watched with wide eyes. He had never seen so many people work together for him. No one asked for anything. No one complained. They joked softly and shared water. The atmosphere felt warm and steady. A woman brought Tom a chair and asked him to sit. "You've done enough standing," she said kindly. Tom sat down, his hands resting on his knees. His eyes felt heavy. He did not speak much. He only watched as his home slowly changed shape. Hours passed. The sun moved high in the sky and then slowly began to lower. The shack now stood straighter. The roof looked strong. The walls were firm. It was still simple, but it was safe. Mike walked over and crouched beside Tom. "You deserve a place that holds up," he said. Tom swallowed hard. "I don't know what to say," he replied. Mike smiled. "You don't have to say anything," he said. "Just know this started because you cared." As the work finished, the group stood back and admired what they had done. The shack looked new compared to before. Tom slowly stood up and walked toward it. He touched the wall gently, almost afraid it might disappear. Tears filled his eyes, but he did not wipe them away. He let them fall freely. That day, Tom learned something important. A small act done with honesty can travel far. It can return multiplied. And sometimes, kindness comes back louder than fear ever could. The sun was already low when the last motorcycle rolled away. Dust settled slowly on the road, and the sound of engines faded into the distance. Tom stood alone in front of his shack, which no longer leaned or rattled in the wind. It looked stronger now, like it could stand through many seasons. He placed his hand on the wall again, just to be sure it was real. That night, Tom slept deeply. For the first time in a long while, rain did not wake him. The roof held firm. The cold air stayed outside. He felt safe enough to close his eyes without worry. His dreams were calm and quiet, filled with old memories of teamwork and shared purpose. The next morning, Tom woke to sunlight coming through a small window the riders had added. He sat up slowly and smiled. His shack felt different. It felt like a home. Tom stepped outside and took a deep breath. The air smelled fresh after the recent rain. Birds moved between the trees. The road was empty again, but something had changed. It no longer felt like a place people passed by without seeing him. Later that day, a woman from a nearby house walked toward him. She carried a bag in her hands. "I saw what happened yesterday," she said kindly. "I thought you might like some fresh bread." Tom accepted the bag with surprise. "Thank you," he said softly. She smiled and looked at the shack. "It looks strong now," she added. More people came over the next few days. A man brought an old chair. Another dropped off a blanket. Someone else offered extra food. Word had spread. People who once looked away now stopped to talk. They asked Tom about his life, his past, and how he was doing. Tom answered honestly, but simply. He did not brag. He did not complain. He listened more than he spoke. People respected that. One afternoon, Tom sat outside when he heard a familiar engine. He looked up and saw Mike riding toward him alone this time. The motorcycle slowed, and Mike stopped near the shack. "You settling in?" Mike asked with a smile. Tom nodded. "I am," he replied. "More than I ever expected." Mike looked around and noticed the small changes people had added. "Looks like the town noticed you," he said. "They did," Tom replied. "Because you did first." Mike shook his head. "You gave first," he said. "That matters." They sat together on the steps of the shack. Mike told Tom more about his group. He spoke about loyalty, shared roads, and watching out for one another. Tom listened carefully. He saw that, beneath the leather jackets and loud engines, there was structure and respect, much like what he once knew. "You ever miss the old days?" Mike asked. Tom thought for a moment. "I miss feeling useful," he said honestly. Mike nodded slowly. "You still are," he replied. Before leaving, Mike handed Tom a small envelope. "Just something to help you get started," he said. Tom hesitated but accepted it. "Thank you," he said. After Mike left, Tom opened the envelope. Inside was a bus pass and a simple note with an address written on it. The note said there was work available at a local repair shop, light duties, flexible hours. Tom stared at the paper for a long time. Hope felt heavy in his chest, but it was not painful. It felt earned. The following week, Tom walked into the repair shop. The owner greeted him with a firm handshake and listened as Tom spoke about his skills and discipline. He did not promise anything, but he gave Tom a chance. That was enough. Tom started helping a few days later. He swept floors, organized tools, and assisted where he could. He worked hard and arrived early every day. People noticed. They trusted him. Each evening, Tom returned to his shack tired but proud. He cooked simple meals and kept the place clean. He even planted a small patch of vegetables near the side of the shack, using seeds a neighbor gave him. As weeks passed, Tom felt himself change. Not in who he was, but in how he stood. His back was straighter. His eyes held purpose again. He no longer felt invisible. One evening, Tom sat outside watching the sunset paint the sky with soft colors. He thought about the day he shared his meal. He had not done it for praise or reward. He had done it because it felt right. Now, he understood something deeper. Kindness does not always return the same way it is given. Sometimes it returns as opportunity. Sometimes as community. Sometimes as a second beginning. Tom smiled quietly as the light faded. His story was not finished yet. It was still being written, one honest day at a time. Months passed quietly, one steady day after another. Tom's life no longer felt stuck in one place. Each morning, he woke up with a reason to move forward. He still rose early, folded his blanket, and cleaned his space, but now his actions felt lighter. The small shack stood firm through changing weather, and every time Tom touched its walls, he remembered the hands that helped rebuild it. Tom continued working at the repair shop. At first, his tasks were simple, but his effort never went unnoticed. He showed up on time, listened carefully, and treated every job with respect. The owner trusted him more with each passing week. Soon, Tom was helping with planning and organizing. He felt useful again, and that feeling stayed with him long after the workday ended. The town slowly began to see Tom differently. He was no longer just the man near the road. He became someone people greeted by name. Neighbors stopped to talk when they passed by. Some asked for advice. Others simply shared stories. Tom listened, nodded, and spoke with honesty. He never forgot where he came from, and that kept him humble. One afternoon, a group of children walked past his shack and stopped to stare. One of them asked how he built his home. Tom smiled and explained in simple words. He showed them how small repairs made a big difference. The children listened closely, curious and impressed. Their laughter filled the air, and Tom felt warmth in his chest. As time went on, Tom saved small amounts of money from his work. He bought better tools and added small improvements to his shack. A stronger door. A cleaner floor. A shelf for books someone donated. The place slowly reflected the care he put into it. Mike visited from time to time. Sometimes alone. Sometimes with one or two others. They never arrived loudly. They respected Tom's space. They talked about work, weather, and the road ahead. Mike noticed the changes in Tom and nodded with approval. "You built this future," Mike said one evening. Tom shook his head gently. "I was given a chance," he replied. "I just didn't waste it." One day, the repair shop owner called Tom into the office. He thanked him for his hard work and offered him a more stable role. It was not a grand offer, but it was honest. Tom accepted with gratitude. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from pride. That night, Tom sat outside his shack and looked at the stars. He thought about how close he once was to giving up hope. He thought about how one shared meal had changed his path. He realized that dignity grows when people see each other clearly. Weeks later, Tom helped organize a small gathering near the road. It was simple. Just food, conversation, and shared time. Neighbors came. Workers from the shop came. Mike and a few riders came too. There was no division. Just people standing together, talking and laughing. Tom stood quietly at the edge, watching everyone interact. He did not need to speak. His presence was enough. As the evening ended, Tom felt a calm certainty. His life was not perfect, but it was real and meaningful. He had rebuilt more than a shack. He had rebuilt his place in the world. When the night grew quiet again, Tom returned inside and closed the door gently. He lay down with a peaceful heart, knowing tomorrow would bring another honest day. His story was no longer about loss. It was about connection, respect, and the strength found in simple kindness.